here we are. We are starting this podcast finally. You know, we had some technical difficulties, but you know what? We don't need to talk about those. We're starting this fresh.
never
This is our first time. Yeah, that's right, Micah. It never, ever happened.
Come to blood.
But yeah, as you can see here, we have a special guest with us today, Mr. Seth Morin, aka our
What's his
brother.
Middle name?
What?
Middle name?
Middle name? Daniel. Well, you know
Nice.
what? I mean, now we've made it super easy for anybody just to find him.
Oh no,
Micah just is not. She just is not looking out. And wow,
You think it's a middle name doesn't mean
you know, and I could
That's-
just
that's what'll get me.
that's why Micah. It's like if she wasn't for me, you would be like if you know going
I'd
into
still be
our
lost in
topics
the
today,
jungle.
the topics that we're going to talk about, you would be
You guys will
you would
see.
be gone.
Micah
no.
would be a goner.
She would be an absolute goner, and Seth knows it. I know it, and I think even Micah knows it.
No,
But
no. I would have my own tribe of people that are following after me in my ways.
The best case scenario for you in any of these things that Taylor is going to bring up later today in the podcast is that you get taken under the wing of a capable group out of pity.
That is not true. That is you guys. You guys are not allowed in my camp. Okay, I'm making my own camp.
Micah, see, this is the difference: is that you can make your own camp, but I'm going to come in and I'm going to raid that camp and I'm going to take what's mine. All
See,
right.
have you ever seen that episode of SpongeBob where it's SpongeBob, Squidward, and Patrick in the woods, and SpongeBob and Patrick they get like airdropped a
Yes.
bunch of food? That'd be me and Taylor, and then
Oh,
Micah
yeah.
would be in her own camp.
Oh yeah,
like Squidward cooking a roach in a pan over a fire.
Oh, that's so not true though. Wait till you guys hear my amazing ideas.
Micah, it is true. It is true, and you need to admit it. You know, but anyways, we'll get to
You
that.
guys will see.
We'll get to that. But
We
there are
will
some like several
see.
things, you know, in preparing like today's episode. I was like, we were like thinking, we're like, man, what should we do? You know, we had some topics, you know, we're gonna dive into you know, Caleb. He's gonna join us next week, and we're gonna do women in ministry for a podcast, and we're gonna kind of dive in, to the idea of women in ministry. It's kind of one of those controversial topics, and you know, I'm just
Taylor is just irking for some controversy.
I'm not irking for controversy. I just like to
It gets the views.
yeah.
It gets the views, Stace.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and it's like these are areas that I think that, you know, with proper teaching and really just diving into it, we can kind of see.
It's
You
like
know,
we
people
want
may form their own
to
opinion.
talk about the controversy, but we don't want to be the ones to do it.
Mm-hmm.
We want to invite other people to come and bring the controversy. So Seth,
Micah, I'm not. First off,
are you ready to bring the
I'm not scared
controversy?
of controversy.
I'm ready. I'm up all social
I don't-
media. I can't be found. I'm a ghost.
It's true.
No one can cancel you.
Seth cannot be canceled. He is a ghost. Like the guy
That's
doesn't
the way
have
to do it.
social
That's the
media.
way to
He doesn't
speak
have
out.
anything. I think he has a LinkedIn. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And my LinkedIn, no one at my company, they don't know anything about my home life or anything like that. They just know that I work for them and I do a good job.
Seth, this
Exactly.
is what you need to be doing then. This is like the
I mean,
perfect.
Seth,
outlet
since
for
he's
you.
got the job with this AI company, it's AI, right?
Yeah, it's an AI company.
So since he's gotten this job with them, he's been like on his, you know, everything's, you know, work from home since COVID. And you've been just a ghost there too, because most people, like a lot of people, I think there's one guy, he always tunes in and he's always like, you know, right there.
Yeah.
But Seth,
I'm camera off.
Seth is camera
I'm
off.
camera off.
He's camera off. He's chilling.
How many of you are working from home and are you a camera offer? How many of you out there?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot. I mean,
The
I would be.
majority.
I would be too.
The majority
I
of
would be a
camera
camera
offers.
offer guy without a shadow of a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so that's kind of like where we wanted to lead this, was because I have always been curious about this, and it seems kind of like we're kind of getting to that stage where AI is entering some like territory where it's like, can we take it too far? And is that good? Is AI good, you know, good for the world?
Okay.
What do you think, Micah?
I think that we have the expert. First of all, Seth is
Micah's like, can you define AI real quick?
artificial intelligence.
Dang, good job.
Seth is very smart, first of all.
Seth is very intelligent. He is very intelligent.
He's a little too smart. Crazy smart.
It's true.
I don't.
Okay, so-
I don't know about that.
When we were talking,
and he works for an AI company. So I think that we have the expert.
oh yeah, we're gonna dive into it because there is something I saw today that just tripped me out, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna pull it up real quick, and it's Sophie.
Oh
Now,
no.
Uh-oh.
yeah, it's let's see. Hopefully, our internet isn't trash.
So I'll never forget whenever I was younger and like people were like freaking out over like Y2K, right? Whenever
Yeah.
I was younger, like over like robots taking over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like like mom trying to explain it to me, and I was just like, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard. And I like I did not understand like how it was like a real thing that people were afraid of.
So like there was actual work that people had to do for Y2K. Like the banks, they had to hire a bunch of people to go through like thousands of lines of code and change everything.
Yeah, you'll have to
Yeah.
explain how
The robots
any of
weren't
that
gonna
could be a
take over, though.
possibility. So-
Absolutely insane.
but people really, really thought they would, right? It was like a real thing.
Yeah, I think it was more that everything was going to crash and be offline than that the robots were going to take over. I think that
Oh.
was the fear. I mean, I was born in 2000, so like I don't know, but
It was all so new. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, so this is what I saw earlier. Now, Micah, look at that.
Ew.
Look at that. That is a robot. And for those of you that aren't
Are they
watching,
using
that are
human
listening,
skin or
we're
something?
looking at a robot. It's called it's the title is Two Robots Debate the Future of Humanity.
No.
Now, I like there's some questions I have because it's like, are these robots like, are they programmed? Like
First
I
of
have
all,
no
they
idea.
couldn't
Seth,
have dressed her a
so
little
let's
better.
let's play it a little bit and let's so like everyone can see and then I'll try to break it down.
okay.
They really just dressed her like an obvious robot, though. I mean, like they could have put some fashion on her. Seriously.
Okay, we're buffering, so I will give a little bit of a preface. So all these companies and AI, what they do is that they'll give demos for what like to showcase what their technology can do. Now, I would say my company is one of the better ones, but a lot of these company will pre-bake demos to like an outrageous degree. Yeah.
It's all like pre-memorized, and
There we
Yeah.
go. Okay. Here we go.
it's like a script. So it's not original.
So yeah, so these two robots right here.
Okay, obvious robot, first of all. So far, I'm not
Hater.
afraid.
Oh my gosh.
I could take that robot down.
What the heck? Okay.
Wait,
Let's-
what, like so what did he ask her right now?
I don't know. Here. Okay, here they are having a conversation.
I am not afraid of Y2K, guys.
Wow. Sassy. Okay.
So like I can break that down. So this is what's going on here is that it's not that he's saying anything and they're responding to it. I want you to notice at the very end of what he said, he linked together words that he hadn't used together yet. So he said conscious like people,
uh-huh.
and then she responded. So what they do is that they have voice
Oh.
recognition in these to where like I can make bots on a platform. And I've actually done something similar to make it seem like the bot is far more advanced than it is. You can make it listen for like 3 words and that are connected to each other, and you can say like like it give you a super open prompt like, what do you want to do today, or who do you want to talk to,
Uh-huh.
and then have it only listen for like, I want to talk to sales, and then have it give a response. That's what's going on there, is that it's waiting for a certain keyword to hear, and then now he basically said, you know, it's a pre-baked and pre-rehearsed that he knows that this is what she's going to say after I say conscious like humans.
So, are there any AI out there that is a free thinking?
No, not even close.
What?
So okay, so you think not even close. Like we're not even
No, not even close.
really.
Like not even a tiny bit close.
Why?
So our first off, our coding isn't good enough.
Uh-huh.
It's just plain not good enough. Like, for the example, let me give you Siri, right?
Yeah.
So when Siri came out in 2000 and what was it, 2008-ish with the iPhone?
Yeah.
2008, 2009, because
Yep.
the iPhone came out in 2007, and that was a
Yep.
couple years later. So if you really think about it, how much better has Siri gotten?
I mean,
Not a
I
lot
can't
better.
remember. I can't remember what Siri was
Siri
like
sucks.
in 2008.
Seriously
So
sucks.
Siri has
Micah
basically
hates it.
the same
I do.
Same program.
it's like all the same functionality that it had in the beginning. It's like we're not anywhere near close to AI. So our best AI probably in the world is the Google DeepMind AI, and they have like the most processing power ever. But I'll get into like I would say one of the biggest reasons why AI isn't even close with that we're just not good enough coders
Yeah.
is that we don't have enough processing power. So we're getting to the point of like diminishing returns for processing power to where we're building these supercomputers and trying to push them really hard, like so hard to the point that we've almost maxed out completely. Like any harder and the parts that we use melt no matter how good we cool them.
Dang it.
Oh my gosh.
So I forget the name of it, but there was this guy in the 19, I think, 50s or 60s that proposed like every couple of years our processing power doubles. But like we found out that basically that he's wrong. So our processing power is like, it's reaching the horizontal point of the curve because our parts are melting now and there's nothing to like hold
So
the
we've
power.
reached like a point where it's like we can't go any farther than we are right now.
This sounds like the beginning
So-
Is
of
that
a
Am I
movie.
grasping it?
So we can't go any farther than we are right now
100%.
with our current technology. So I'd say the only way that we have AI like in the next 50 years that is anywhere like decent a little bit is with huge leaps in quantum computing.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, even I think of like, you had computers, I mean, look how young computers are in the whole
Yep.
gist of things. Like computers
true.
are super young. Like we haven't even scratched the surface of what a computer can actually do. I mean, we have, but at the same time, it's like we've gone from a computer being able to do math, which was
Mhm.
like a huge feat,
Yeah.
and then now we're at the point where it's like computers are literally doing
We just need
everything.
some big minds. It's like, think about some of those big minds that
There is a big mind, and
they just came up with like a few of the world's huge inventions, and there's breakthrough after all of that. This is the beginning of a movie, is what I'm saying.
so
We need
so
a person to come up, to raise up into the world and to process
Yeah, but
AI so much better than it is.
I would say AI it's not even close. So AI is only good in closed loops. Like that's why it's good at math because there's nothing that really needs to be interpreted about math.
Right,
It's like
okay.
pure calculation, like crunching numbers, and there's not much subtleties to math.
Uh-huh.
It's just math. And that's why computers are good at chess as well. And that was like a big thing because
Oh.
there's nothing I would say chess is a little harder, but chess isn't very abstract. It's just chess. That takes tons of calculation.
Right.
And so those are considered like closed systems to where there's a certain amount of rules and the computer gets to learn those rules and, get better. But like even in that sort of sense, in a closed system where AI is supposed to thrive, like don't get me wrong, AI is much better at chess than humans are. But there's still positions like in chess where if you plug them into a computer, which is a closed loop where AI should thrive, a human will be able to solve it like using normal logic. They're called like engine busters, like these positions, and an engine with like infinite computing can't solve it.
I think I saw like a video of that where they were trying to beat a computer. What, didn't you watch it? Didn't you
Yeah.
watch it with
Oh,
me,
yeah,
Micah? It was like
documentary.
it was like documentary,
On
or was
chess.
that Go?
Yes.
AlphaGo.
Oh, AlphaGo.
AlphaGo.
Go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, that game looks so complicated. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know much about Go, so I can't really speak to it. I
Yeah.
think it's supposed to be a little more abstract than chess, which was a big deal, but it's still a closed system. So like AI and computers are supposed to be far better than humans in these closed systems, and they still are, but sometimes they're still falling short. So that just shows how far behind AI is. Like it's not
What?
even close.
I'm so disappointed.
Yeah.
I really thought that it was like, to me, like the fact of it being kind of scary and that they could take over. I really
No,
thought
so-
that everybody was afraid that they actually
I
could
mean,
take
So
over us.
AI can't even understand human dialogue. Like
What?
so when you talk into your phone and you know how it gets words wrong, like
Wow.
like in a high rate, that's because it has voice capture, but we don't have enough coding or good enough coding for it to understand what a human is trying to say.
Dang. So computers don't have emotions, is what you're telling me.
So computers aren't, I would say that they aren't subtle. like there's a lot of subtleties in the human language, like by the way you say something and the context that you say something for what it means. So it's like if I'm talking to you and I'm talking about my car, like for example, my company that I work at uses this example all the time because they've specifically coded an engine to pick up stuff like this and
Mhm.
like, in specific scenarios. But like if I'm talking to you and I'm talking about trucks and I say Ord F-150, I don't say the F.
You mess it all up.
So if that was a computer listening to me, like if I said that into Google's, engine,
It's all over.
it's over. Like it gets super confused. Like it doesn't know what I'm talking about. To
Dumb.
where all you
Dumb,
guys
dumb.
know I'm saying Ford F-150. And basically all the main AI competitors in the world are working on language. And it's like no one can do open-ended all language. Like it can only be very specific scenarios where they
Wow.
So-
thrive.
I'm
So-
disappointed.
What do you, so in regards to AI, but then you have like Elon Musk who comes out and he's like, we're getting to the point where AI
Yeah,
is going
he
to take
makes it
over.
sound very scary.
Yeah, he's like saying like, "Oh yeah, we're at the point now. It's like if we don't stop with the AI experiments or da 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 da."
Exactly.
Doesn't he say like,
That's Elon Musk is the one where I'm getting all this from.
So I mean, there's a lot of jobs that can be automated if we do like the due diligence to automate them.
yeah?
And so I like
So do you think that like the world is going to get to a point where we are now going to have computers and AI, for even
like
where
drive
we're at?
cars everywhere.
Not necessarily drive cars. We'll start more simple of like, I mean, we already see at McDonald's, the fact that they're doing the fact that they're doing
Taking
like
orders.
taking
Yes.
orders. Yeah. Do you
Mhm.
think that like we're going to go that route, even though it would just be terrible for us because we'd, do you think the economy would be able to thrive still, but at the same
Yeah.
time, it doesn't, where would the jobs be if no one's getting minimum wage or?
So I think the economy would do fine because we're seeing it happen right now. And like this happens. So like if you look at all the quote unquote like industrial revolutions, every
Uh-huh.
single one has been spurred by some sort of automation. Like for example, like I forget, I think it's the cotton loom, like started one of the industrial revolutions and it made producing like
What's cotton loom? Just like,
It-
is
it
it like a
made-
machine?
Yeah, it made
Okay.
like I think it made like spinning cotton or creating shirts. I'm not super familiar with it, but it's
Uh-huh.
something that made the creation of clothing like factories needed way less workers, like one worker can have a lot more output. So these sort of things happen all the time, and I think like people consider right now the fourth industrial revolution of automation. And every like revolution, there's some sort of automation that pushes people out of jobs, but it increases productivity. It drives down prices. So even though there's more unemployment, there's lower prices. And like kind of what we've noticed is that
Wow.
new things always emerge. So if you look at like the world, their entertainment has always been, a sector, but it's been increasingly growing, right?
Yeah.
So far, yeah.
Yeah, and like one of the reasons is that there's less like quote unquote like super necessary jobs. Like the world used to be like 88% farmers and now it's like, 1% because we've automated tons of farming with,
Okay.
with like almond shakers and stuff like that. Like people
Right.
didn't have that. People had to go work the
Oh
fields
my
by
gosh,
hands.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, it'd be horrible.
Oh
So it's
gosh.
we've already been experiencing it for a long time. Like if you look at agriculture specifically, new markets just always emerge. People find places to go, places to work. Like there's a lot in entertainment.
Yeah, because I know
Yeah,
that
maybe we'll all get into the arts.
Yeah, no, seriously. Like a lot of people
We
would
will
get
have
into
so
the
much
arts.
time. Everyone's gonna become a YouTuber. Everyone's gonna have a podcast.
Well,
Yeah.
that was like one of the
It's-
huge debates because a lot of people were actually saying that. They were like,
But then we'll all get
where's
dumb,
and I was even thinking that myself. I was like, well, if we have computers that are doing minimum wage jobs, I guess there still has to be somebody to flip the burger and stuff like that, and I'm talking about that area.
Mhm.
But yeah, I guess yeah, that makes sense to me.
That's interesting. Okay, so you're saying Seth says you heard it here. Seth Morton says
Mhm.
robots good, no eminent bad coming from robots.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But what about won't we all get dumber?
So, I mean, I think you'll only get dumber if you like allow yourself to get dumber. That's actually been a big argument for like a long time. So like in the 20s, like there's this writer named Thoreau and he wrote a book called Walden where he went and like it was during the 1920s where all Americans were being like very productive.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first, like the Roaring Twenties, like all Americans were working really hard. Like it was kind of the birth of like the American dream, sort of say. And he took a really big stance against it because like he
Oh.
thought people were losing like some of their personhood in a sense, like some of their humanity.
Wow, in the 1920s.
So
Wow.
like it's been an argument for a long time, which is true, and like
With
an example that he
innovation.
uses in the book that he writes, because he wanted to live simply. And, like that's his whole point, is that when Darwin was like exploring the random parts of the earth, he said that like it's recorded that he found a tribe and they lit a fire and sat together, and it was like this Arctic tribe and they didn't really have clothes, and all the Western explorers were like bundled up like super tight, and that the
Hmm.
next to the fire, the unclothed like natives there were sweating like profusely. And like Thoreau uses that point to be like, in this like comfortable world that we're building for ourselves,
Right.
we're becoming worse, like in a
We're
sense.
getting weak.
Yeah.
But I
Soft.
was thinking too is that even us now, the conversation of like robotics and and your question of like, will we get dumber? But it's like if we look back in history,
More dumb. I'm sure.
no, exactly, like history,
Exhibit A.
like there were some really, amazing, very intelligent people. I mean,
Mhm.
Einstein, all those guys, and but now it's like your average person is a lot smarter than them, than that period of time because we have a cell phone, like we have instant
Mhm.
communication. So like there is even the argument like we're somewhat already like robotic ourselves because it's like
Yeah,
I've
I've
heard
heard
that
that.
argument where it's
Yeah.
like we're the access to information, just like so much widespread information is literally a Google search away. So like for us, we're actually so more and
So
more
weird.
technology, more of this happens. It's like you actually I could see people getting smarter in a
Yeah.
sense.
Well, so that's the other argument, is that we're getting smarter, because it's like someone on the other camp would say like to Thoreau, it's like, well, like who cares if we don't handle the cold as well anymore? Like they would say the whole point of automation is that we get to focus on like higher thoughts
Yeah.
Okay.
in a sense. So there's two sides to the camp. So you do lose something, but you also gain, at the very least, you gain more time to think about stuff. But I mean, it depends how
Right.
you occupy that time.
Right, because it's like the more of a survival mindset that you're in, the more that your mind isn't able to grow and to think about higher things.
Yeah, it's the Maslow hierarchy of needs. So like at the very top of it, like after you can eat well, after you're safe, after you feel like you're in a community, then you can, reach quote unquote self-actualization, where you actually get to think about,
Oh.
things.
Okay, wait. I have another question. So, do you think that the reason why like depression and anxiety, it seems like it's a more known, talked about thing than it used to be?
Mhm.
I think that like, people always probably have struggled with it, but it's like just more. Seems like more people do now.
Mhm.
Do you think that has to do with like us having
Our
all
needs
those
met.
needs met?
Oh yeah, 100%. Because it's like you don't have to. It's like the world
You
is simple.
realize that you're unhappy, and then like you're unhappy whenever all your needs are met, and you can just sit with your
Well, yeah,
feelings.
because like it forces you to look internally. Like if you ever been really busy for a week, you don't really think about anything else, and then
Yes.
like you have a day off and like
You're depressed.
you're sad or you're something. It's the same concept, but except for like in all of humanity, people were really busy 7 days a week,
Right.
their entire
Surviving.
their entire lives. Like it's kind of the first time ever to where we get days off, and
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
That's true.
really
And
interesting.
and then kind of just last thing I think I want to talk about on for the topic is once again Elon Musk, he's kind of like the pioneer of this whole craziness. I mean, everything he's doing, but
Yeah.
the chip, that stinking chip that they're
The
now
Neuralink, is that what you're talking
Neuralink,
about? It's
yes.
crazy.
Are they actually making strides in this? Because I haven't heard about it since like
Yeah,
recently.
so far stuff has
but-
debunked one of our fears. So let's see if this one is
Yeah,
also
so one
scary.
fear has been debunked. Okay, I'll say that.
The
Like,
Matrix is
I'm
not real,
convinced.
guys.
Yeah, the Matrix is not real.
They
But-
could not take over
But
us.
now this
Thank God.
Neuralink thing
Not yet.
is crazy.
I'm not super familiar with all the Neuralink stuff. I would just hope that we would avoid any sort of Neuralink, because I would say it's like it's pretty safe to say that any sort of concentration of power is bad, right?
Yeah, like a monopoly.
Well, yeah, like a single point failure. So it's like as soon as we kind of
Yeah. So
What?
here's the website Neuralink, and let me enlarge it. So basically, breakthrough technology for the brain, and then interfacing with the brain, engineering with the brain, understanding the brain, create the future with. Okay, so I think that the intro to this title was more interesting because it's just off a whim. But what does that say right there? Developing ultra high bandwidth brain machine interfaces to connect humans and computers. Like literally,
No.
they are saying that they want.
I'll
to
tell you right
put-
now.
Put,
No.
So
We need
that's
to
the
shut this
question.
down.
That's
We
the-
need to shut this down.
Well, I just think it's a horrible idea
Bad
for
idea.
I think it's pretty terrible myself, because it's like, what if we get to a point where it's like these things, I mean, how can you trust it? We're talking the brain.
well, you
other people
can't.
can program stuff inside of us,
Well,
right?
you can't trust it because like first off, like I would say that something that's really fallen behind in the world is like cyber defense, right?
Yeah.
Yes, privacy.
So it's like
Oh, such a
people
good
are
point.
so good at hacking and not great at anti-hacking.
defending.
Yeah, so it's like
privacy.
Oh my gosh.
like that's a whole emerging landscape to where like not only has the US government been hacked on an incredibly deep level, I'm sure basically every single government either is hacked or has been hacked in a huge way.
True.
So it's like any time that we put anything online, it automatically becomes unsafe.
Oh, I'm sure that
Dang,
that-
Seth.
I mean,
so true.
yeah.
Our
I mean-
cyber defense is pretty poor.
So we don't
And
even
And not
know
only
what-
that, but the people in charge of our institutions also can't really be trusted. Like with the whole Snowden, like
that's true.
So I've heard this really interesting thing before where did you guys know like that your brain is like neuroplastic whenever like you're first waking up in the mornings and whenever you're like laying down or whenever you're like in a relaxed state. And like that's like the main time that like we're always like scrolling through our phones. And so it's like you're like looking on Instagram, social media, and that like what happens is that it literally like your brain is the most like moldable during like those times. And so like they say it's like you're literally being programmed by like whatever like is being put out like on your phone and stuff, like whatever like narrative or like agenda that you're listening to.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about, because
Isn't that
they're
crazy?
talking like that there's actually an agenda. So when you're scrolling through Instagram or whatever, like they just keep putting things.
It's just like
In front
whatever,
of
like
you.
whatever is happening in culture. It's like whatever you're listening to, whatever you're watching. It's like whenever you're always doing that in like a relaxed kind of zoned out state, your brain is actually the most moldable at that time. So it's like actually creates like brain pathways, like even whenever you're not
Wow.
agreeing with it, it's like actually like if you're constantly consuming it in those relaxed states, it's like creating brain pathways.
I mean, that opens up a whole nother door.
well,
Yeah.
that would make sense to me. And like I think the example that we would use to like
It's crazy.
illustrate it's like if you hang out with a bunch of your friends and they all talk a certain way,
Right.
you cannot like the way they talk, but you will start talking like them just because you don't have your walls up like around your friends. You're just
Ooh,
relaxing
yeah.
with them, right? So it's like it's not necessarily something that you're trying to learn from them, but you just kind of pick up as you're going along.
Wow.
Mm,
Yeah.
That's true.
But
That's
I was
true.
just kind of thinking like that's kind of the same concept that's like that brain chip. It's like that whatever technology, whatever you're consuming through media, through the internet, like that's also coming inside of your brain and like changing your brain.
Oh, I mean,
So
it's
it's
like
like-
almost, it could be like a sense of brainwashing in a sense too.
Yeah.
That brain chip,
If
I
there's
just
an
don't
agenda.
trust it, dude. Anything that
I
can
agree.
be hacked will be hacked. I mean, I'm not
made-
connecting nothing to my
you
brain.
made the
So
best
true.
point
Anything
when,
that can be
like,
will be
I did,
hacked.
my mind did not even go to the fact that it's hackable.
Yeah.
Like, what happens
Well,
if like
they
if
could
you're around
program you.
like let's talk like an EMP, dude. Like, what happens to your brain then? Like,
Well, dude, it's like because not
Some
only
malfunctions.
that, if you look at like the whole online community and the hacker types, they're like a fanatical group, right? So it's
Yeah.
like saying something like, "Oh, but no one would really do something like that." Like, yes, they would. Like, they would do.
Oh, for sure.
They
There
would
are
do
some
anything.
savages out there,
Yeah.
especially if
Yeah,
they're like
just
if they're the
because.
keyboard warriors. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's exactly like they're like, I don't know this person, but I'm gonna hack them and blah blah blah. But I mean, also kind of leading us into our other topic is like, it could create some zombies.
Definitely it could. I mean, okay, let's go there. Let's go deeper.
into Neuralink, or do you want to go deeper into zombies? Because we're
I
about
just wanted to say that.
because we'll tear some zombies up. Because I'm telling you right now,
Okay, wait. Here's what I'm thinking. So, like, you know how I'm talking about this concept of being programmed.
Mhm.
So, like, what literally, here's what I believe, that there's literal people that they're writing agendas, they're writing narratives, and that it's in everything all the time, like from the time that we're little, like in all of, like, in movies and on our phones. Like, there's this constant agenda and narrative that's being preached to us and that we're consuming, going into our subconscious. Okay. And then what happens is that whenever it's like constantly happening, we're being trained. So it technically, like, just like a dog. Like, if you're
Mhm.
teaching a dog the same thing over and over, and then you give the dog that trigger word, then the dog knows what to do. It knows the program. So I think that what happens is that people are being programmed. And then whenever they hear like trigger words, or they see like trigger things, like, for example, we can talk about the Holocaust. Like, the Holocaust, like, they were already programming people kind of like through, all of the propaganda, like, they are brainwashing them, programming them. And then
Yeah.
whenever like they actually were like, okay, this is happening, everybody, like, they were triggered and the program was already there. And so they were able to fall into like the control and the brainwash. So what if that happens in real life? Everyone's being programmed, and then it's like they start to trigger us, and then people are turning in
well, I'll
to
tell you right now,
brainwash
Micah.
zombies. Are you guys tracking with
Micah,
me?
I'll tell you right
Or
now.
am I just sounding like a full
So what
I'm
you?
just I'm having
no, I am
some very
tracking.
high level
Because
thinking here.
You
Okay,
you said us first off.
not us, but I'm
And
saying
nobody activating me because I am
I'm saying-
unhackable.
I'm saying the sheep. Okay, I'm not
I
saying
have
us.
a wall
man.
of steel, bulletproof. I'm telling you right now, I'm not programmed.
So it's like they were doing that with the Holocaust, though. It was like they were kind of
No, they did.
programming, and then it was like, okay, they're programming about the Jews, giving them this kind of idea. And then whenever they started to like give the triggers, like, hey, this is what's really happening. The Jews are really doing this. And then it's like they all fell into the trap. Like, they all fell into like
Mhm.
the program whenever like the trigger happened. So it's like, even though it seems like it's so far fetched, I'm just saying it's not that far fetched
Yeah.
at all. Like, and I can see how they could be like easily like starting to trigger things that they've been having programs for all these years.
So the way that I would look at like the Holocaust, like in Germany and stuff like that, so I would say it's less that they were triggered to act a certain way and then they were triggered to act that way. I think what like happened is that Hitler and his like chief of propaganda, they noticed something that was like innately true about the German people, and it's that they were angry and that they blamed Europe for the state of Germany, right? And then what they did is that they made them like promises of like, like, hey, like, we know that you're angry, like, we'll make Germany into what you want it to be. And they took the anger that they had and they assigned it someplace, right? So I think it was less that they were programmed, they kind of took advantage of their feelings and like twisted the context in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Yeah.
just pointed them in a direction.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
even,
but even that is brainwashed and programming.
Because even
I agree
Hitler-
that they were definitely brainwashed.
oh yeah, I mean they had to be, and I mean Hitler. I don't know, I'm not a historian. Seth is, he's really good at history, but what is it true that Hitler was on what was it? Not Time
Drugs.
magazine. What was it? Was it Time magazine Man of the Year or something like that?
So before he went
I'm gonna
crazy,
look.
he completely turned around the German economy. I think it was in 1932 or 33-ish. Like, he was one of the most popular guys. Like, he got his,
Really?
yeah, because he completely turned around the German economy, like,
So
in a
that's
big way.
what made people to respect him and listen to him.
Yeah, because what happened is that after World War One, no one really won World War One, but the Germans lost because they got in the Treaty of Versailles. They got such a bad treaty. They had to give up land. They had to like pay reparations. It was like a big strain on the German economy, and then so the Germans were like, they
Yeah.
were angry, and their economy was like in disarray. And when Hitler kind of came into power, he would like promise that he's going to return the economy to power. He actually
Right.
went and he reclaimed the land that they like were lost, and that was kind of like his first step. No one really doing anything about it because they're like, it was like the Germans anyways. It wasn't really like an act of war, and he did turn around the German economy. So like the Germans loved him because like he made Germany look strong. People weren't as poor as they were. So like he
Mhm.
was a hero.
And
Like
didn't he like kind of manipulate the the Germans to believing that it was like the Jewish, population who came in. They started opening up businesses. That all the they started making a lot of wealth,
Mhm.
and then they started. So he basically was able to kind of build the
Assign
propaganda
blame,
on
yeah.
it's like, our economy's this because of them, and
Mhm.
we need to,
Because
because they were opening up all the businesses.
he started to like build on like I need to make Germany strong, and like he would slowly build on that as he was going, be like we need to eliminate what's weak. Like that was the next, like the natural
next
next
level
step.
of escalation.
Yeah, and then so that's like old people, disabled people, and then it gets to the point of like, what else is holding us back? Well, like the Jews are behind the media and the
Hmm.
banks and like,
Dude, he
Well,
was a nightmare of an
it's just
individual.
a good point though too that it always starts off and it reminds me of that Bible verse where it talks about like the end times, and it says that like in the end times that everyone's going to be crying peace, peace, but that really like it's going to be evil, like in that it's like at the
hmm
great falling, it's the great falling away, people are being deceived, but that's exactly what it is. It's always in the name of like peace. It's always in the name of like the propaganda is
let's fix
always
our
like
economy. Let's make
yes,
Germany safe. Let's make Germany
let's
strong.
be a
So
one
like,
world government. Like that's
yeah.
gonna be good for everyone. Like it's gonna be better. And it's like so it makes sense. It seems like it's good, but it's not. It's not.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
really I didn't know that Hitler actually. I never knew that Hitler
Yeah,
like
it's
did good
when
things
I
like
when I look at
Oh
before.
when
yeah, he was a hero. They
1936
loved him.
Time Magazine, 1936,
That's
and I
crazy.
think
Well,
he,
that
he
makes
might
a
have done
lot
it
more
even
sense.
twice, but
Because you know what? It never made sense to me, to be honest. I was always like, I would never be brainwashed.
yeah,
I'm like,
how did this person come to power if
and I
he's so
always think that
evil?
about slavery too. I'm just like, how like how were Christians okay with it? Like I just want to know like how can people get brainwashed? Because it's like I just look back at history and
Ugh,
I'm just like,
I mean, we can just look at abortion now.
yeah, that's a
true.
great point. That's a
Yeah, I
great
mean,
point. Something that the it gets twisted,
If enough people says it's okay, then everyone is just convinced it's okay.
exactly. And then
just
your grid for
crazy.
right and wrong kind of gets skewed.
And I would say that,
So
like, if we look
true.
at slavery, slavery was generally accepted, but also, like, history is written by the lion. Like, a lot of people say that. It's like, it's the
Yeah,
winner. So, like, I'm almost
good point.
1000% positive there were tons of people that were against slavery. Like,
There
almost,
had to have been too,
like,
yeah.
there had to have been a, like
Mhm.
abortion is when people are going to look back at us now, abortion's been legal basically worldwide for the last like what 50 years ish, and then it's going to seem like worldwide everyone's fine with abortion when you're reading it from a history book,
Ugh, makes me sick to my
and they'll be
stomach.
like, how does everyone think
And
that
that we
way?
lived
And it's
through
like it's
that.
not.
That's
Yeah.
true.
And yeah, oh, that is
Hopefully
so
we get, I mean,
crazy.
even though it's bad as it is, hopefully we get to a point where it's like at least the future could look back and say, you
They're
know,
gonna look back at abortion like we look back at slavery.
I
Yeah.
hope they look back at abortion and like,
Like it's
in
gonna
the
be like
same concept and
how did
same way.
people think
How
this
did
was
they
good?
allow this?
Yeah.
How, because
It just makes no sense.
if they don't, we're talking a generation from now. It's like if they're like, don't even have the discussion.
That even intelligent
Whew.
people, like intelligent people were that they also were okay with slavery. They were okay with the Holocaust. That they
Yeah.
were intelligent human beings.
I,
And the
I
same
mean,
thing
I've
is
heard
happening now.
Christians that
Right.
are okay with abortion. It's mind boggling.
Right.
I mean, it shouldn't even really be just a Christian thing either. Like
No,
abortion
no.
just doesn't make sense. So like the idea is like at what point is an egg or a fetus a human? And I just think it takes like incredible hubris of man to pick a random day in the trimester and then be like, okay, after this, we'll consider it a human. Like there's
Mhm.
no logical conclusion
Yeah.
that has come to make that decision, because the real answer is no one knows when a fetus is a human. So it's like, why would you ever just pull the trigger to kill it if you don't know? That's like firing into a box with a gun and saying like, okay, there
Wow.
may or may not be a human in there, and just because it's like, then so it doesn't really
I
matter, I
can't think
guess.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So but the one thing that is the common denominator for all of this is that selfishness, like you're putting whenever you're able to get your own gain, like that is what helps people to be able to like reason like the most
Yeah, well, it's the same
obscene
concept with
things.
Hitler, right? Like, so it's the whole like her body, her choice, and so like that justifies whatever
Right.
your action. So it's like assigning basically sort of a blame, It's like it's assigning a blame to the baby for taking away your freedom in a sense. It's her body, her
Wow.
choice. And then so Hitler was doing the same thing, like assigning the blame of the economy. to
And then
the it's like it's just taking some sort of responsibility for the German economy and putting it on someone else, and then it's like, okay, let's just get rid of it then.
And then I'm thinking for slavery, I'm thinking of it was, that it was for them to be able like to get, to move forward in life.
Hmm.
It was to build America. It was about, the money was coming in so much. Like, so it was just like,
It was easier.
yeah. So it's so much easier that the selfishness is like the self gain is just so
So easy.
easy. And like that, they're just not even letting their moral compass go there. Like they're just
Mhm.
not even letting that option to even like think it all the way through just because it's too painful to yourself.
Oh, geez. But I'll tell you what, Hitler was outplayed. He was outplayed in World War II. And one of my favorite things that I saw outplayed. I wish if I can go back and there's a lot of people that really wish they could have just punched him in the mouth and then killed him. But so, but
But you know how to lay that down. That was our last podcast. He had to lay down his desire to be to
kill Hitler.
people, to kill Hitler.
not kill people, like kill Hitler.
bad
Dude.
guys.
I'd take Hitler out, bro. But yeah, it's just what I was gonna say
Yeah,
was some people may not know this, but actually in World War II, the U.S. developed an entire base, and this was, I think, during the invasion of D-Day. They developed an entire base that was inflatable planes, tanks, all these things, and they blew them up to where the
Awesome.
German spies would be flying over, their planes would fly over, and they just saw a huge camp. And but in all reality, no one was there. It was all inflatables, and that was when I believe I'm right. So Hitler sent all of his armies towards that base, and that's when we invaded Germany. So he had all of his army going that way, and then we kind of snuck in and pow.
That's awesome.
It's pretty awesome.
That's filthy.
That's so
majorly
filthy.
outplayed.
That's filthy.
That's outplayed.
I love trick plays like in football. I'm like, why don't they do trick plays like more often?
I mean,
That's just so fun.
because
And
it's
also like in the military.
so I mean, trick
Why not
plays
do more
like they
trick
work,
plays?
but at the same time, it's like
They
it's-
work until
it's
they
kind of a
don't.
gamble. Yeah, it's kind of a gamble. Like
work
you're never
until they don't.
guaranteed a win on a trick
Which is
play.
so fun. That's awesome.
So it's like you can do like one trick play, maybe two, and then at that point it's like you got none left. Like they're ready.
Exactly. All right. So as we kind of wrap up, I want you to settle a debate for me right now, Seth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting the ball in your court. Now, I don't believe this, but some people do. Now, is the earth flat?
No,
Why?
I would say like gravity and like the math that makes the world work, like the math that makes cars drive and your GPS work is all based around like the world being
Okay, so
circular.
I agree. Okay. So there's so many things, like I've heard that it's not flat, it's a dome, that we live in a half dome, like that's the earth, okay? And then also when I was talking gravity, someone brought this up and it actually made a good point. Even though I don't believe that the earth is flat it is round. It is round. But they were talking is like
How do you
I forget
know?
the velocity. It was like if the earth is spinning, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I forget the exact term, and we're on the edge of it, why don't we get launched out into space? Because if we were, it's like, one of
Mhm.
those carnival rides, if you're that, that spin real fast and you kind of go up on the wall.
Yeah.
It's like you're on the inside of it, so you have something to stick to that makes you.
So I have the answer to this. It's gonna blow your
Yes,
mind. So
please.
so like the way that physics works is that there's a frame for physics.
Okay.
So let's say you're inside of a car and you have a bouncy ball in your hand. Okay.
Yeah.
You throw that bouncy ball into the air. What happens?
It travels with you.
Does it come back down to your hand, or does
Oh,
it fly
okay.
to the back of the car and get caught in the back of it?
It flies right back into your hand.
I mean, there you go.
I need help grasping it.
So like I can't fully grasp myself. I'm not like a big physics guy. Like I've taken calculus and stuff,
Yeah.
but like I haven't taken a lot of physics. I had a horrible physics teacher. That's a different thing.
I get it.
Call
So
him out right
basically
now,
what you're
Seth. Here's
saying,
your
it's like
opportunity.
Mr.
just
Green,
because-
dude, you are the worst. Like, holy cow. You know, too. That's the worst part. This was first year teaching. You know what was going down. The guy
Oh
was handing out
my.
A's left and right. He just felt
Oh,
bad.
especially at
That
the school
sucks.
you went to.
We
My
had a
goodness.
teacher like that too. That it was her first time, and she was just struggling.
He just got tenured. I have no clue how that even went down. But Mr. Green, congrats. You tricked him.
You
Yeah,
tricked
you
him.
tricked him, dude. You're in.
Oh, but okay. Well,
But,
that's,
like-
yeah.
But regardless, like it just works. So like the frame of I'm not gonna explain this well. Like if people are watching that really know, they can correct me, but it's like it's just the way that gravity works. Like I can't really explain it, but it's the same concept of why we don't fly off the earth. It's the exact same concept is applied for when you're inside of a car and you throw up a ball into the air. Why does it come back down to your hand instead of flying to the back of the car? It's just something
we
that's
don't know.
true.
We
I
don't
mean,
know.
well, we do know, but it's like I don't know all the math to explain
Right,
it.
right.
So I did. Well, it was actually Caleb that told me about the moon, and I never realized that it's like, why do we never like the moon is always
Facing towards us. Yeah.
How
It's because the moon doesn't spin.
the moon doesn't spin?
So the moon just looks at us.
See,
And it
I
goes
did not
around.
know that. I was in a debate and I was spinning
This
my
needs
wheels.
to be a reoccurring theme.
So it's
Ask
not that
Seth
there's a
your
dark side of the
questions.
moon. It's that there's only one side of the moon that we ever see. So the back side of the moon does get lit, but it's just that we never see the back side of the moon because it's always facing towards us. There's just no
Wow.
spin.
There's no spin. Wow. Thank you, Seth.
Seth,
Thank you.
how can anyone that's listening to this before we have to use this opportunity to pull this out of Seth,
hmm
this life-changing information. Someone's listening to this, Seth, and they don't know that they can be a millionaire.
hmm
Can anyone be a millionaire that's listening right now, Seth?
Yeah, I mean, like you can be a millionaire by 65, kind of like working a minimum wage job if you just live somewhere garbage. I think if you really want to be a millionaire with like the least amount of effort, it's just don't spend money. Like seriously.
And invest.
I
Or
mean,
no.
investing is always good. Like you should probably put aside a certain percent of your income and always invest it. And it doesn't really matter if you lose it because eventually you'll figure it out and you'll win. And that's like a
Mhm.
whole different thing on how to invest well. But if you just always invest a certain percentage, you'll figure things out. But like regardless, it's all about living. Like if you really want to be a millionaire in the easiest way, like least amount of mental effort, you just live somewhere that doesn't cost a lot and you make more than you spend.
That sounds like torture.
I mean, yeah.
Look at Micah. Micah's like,
I'm
I'm, not
talking about
that.
Invest. You have to save with a purpose, not save with the purpose of becoming a millionaire at 65.
Yeah. Well, if you want to do that,
Take
then
no travel days, no sick days, grind, live in the slums, so
Well-
that when you're 65, you can live like a king. Just wait, baby. The paycheck's coming.
I mean, if you want to do it by 55, you just spend less and save more. So it's all just it all works in
Wow.
percentages.
That's right. And
Yeah.
the key to your life, other than living in the slums and not spending a dime, is to
Mhm.
stay in shape so that you could you live your life at 55.
I mean, there's a lot of ways.
No,
but
I get what you're saying.
if you just invest, I mean, you would figure out what percentage of your income you should invest, and you will gauge how successful your investments are. But like I mean, a good return on your investment is probably like 8%, like year over year. That's considered a pretty good return.
Okay.
But like if you get worse or better, like basically if you just keep trying and you always save and don't spend, you'll
Mhm.
get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. I believe it.
Seth is our money man.
Money man. Money man.
He's really good with finances and helps people invest, and
all that good
he's
stuff.
good with all of that. So
So I think that I definitely feel like
you didn't get to do your one big question.
well, we don't need to talk about that. But I think that we
but
we
the whole beginning of
definitely-
our podcast, we were talking about it, and then now we
That's
never
true.
did.
We never
What?
addressed it.
zombies.
How we would, what you would do during an apocalypse.
Okay, yeah, we'll close with this. We'll close with this because I want to see what other people feel. Okay, so the question,
hide in a bush.
Micah, ask me that. Ask me the question, Micah. Ask me the
What
question.
would you do in an apocalypse? What is the plan? What's going down? Like, what is like the apocalypse is happening? Like,
well,
what
Micah,
do we do?
to answer your question,
Which apocalypse? Like which sort of?
we're talking zombies.
Oh, like zombie, I
Zombies.
guess.
zombies. Everybody gets the COVID vaccines and they've turned into zombies now.
Okay.
So
Dude.
first thing I'm doing. Okay, first off, I'm always loaded on a full tank of gas because you never know. I
But
got
what
me
if
a
it,
go
what if the
bag
grid
ready.
goes down? Grid's gone down.
The grid goes
You can still
down.
have gas.
We still have gas.
Doesn't the car not work if
That's
the
it.
grid goes down?
So if the grid goes down,
No, they work.
as
My
long as, it's
car
not
works.
as long as it's not an EMP.
I
I
heard that
believe-
there's some apocalypses that cars don't work.
Yeah, like an EMP or like a solar rays, like those things. Like those could potentially.
Okay,
Knock
that's
out your
also going
navigation.
down.
No
Mm.
cars.
Okay,
Cars makes
so-
things tougher.
okay. Are the cars up or are the cars down?
The water is poisoned. The cars are not working.
Okay, so with the cars not working,
And there's zombies.
And there's
So, and what sort of zombies are we talking about? We're talking about like walker zombies. Or are we talking
walkers
about
at
like
least. We have to have a chance.
okay, so
Okay.
cars go
World
down.
War Z, we just give
Cars
up.
go down. Cars go down. Then I'm hustling to go and find like the nearest motorcycle dealership. I'm breaking the windows out. I'm getting motorcycles because I don't think motorcycles
You
actually.
start vandalizing.
I don't care. I
Get a
will
motorcycle.
survive. But I think that motorcycles they don't need a like they don't have chips and stuff in them. It's just like a
Yeah,
kickstart. bop, bop,
we know a
go.
guy, Pastor Gary, that he made a wood fire truck.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I
Pastor
haven't
Gary
seen
in
it, but I
Montana.
heard about it. Yeah, he was telling us, but that's super awesome. But
We
so
need
anyways,
that.
I go there and then so I think the best place, like what's your okay,
We
Seth,
need to go to water.
what location do you try and bug out to?
So, can the zombies swim?
The zombies do
Nah,
not swim. They don't
nah.
swim. They might float and they're like wandering, but
Not
they
too
don't
much,
like
yeah.
you might run into a zombie.
You don't want to get overrun by them
No,
in
no,
the
no,
water.
no.
That
So where
wouldn't
are
be
you
good.
going?
So, if they can't swim, we need to make it to an island.
Exactly. That is
What
me.
island, though?
But
So
they,
not
but
Catalina. Catalina is going to be super populated. All the Marina Del Rey folk, all of them, they're going to have the same idea. One of them is going to bring an infected over with them, thinking they're
True,
going to bring like their
true.
wife who's already been bit, but they like think she has a
True.
chance.
Very true.
They're going to bring her, and then she's going to turn and eat everybody.
Totally.
So not Catalina. We are going to.
We can steal a yacht.
We're going to steal a yacht
You can. Yachts are big enough to
or
where
a
you
sailboat.
can. But
But
a
I
sailboat,
don't know how to
a
sail.
sailboat's not big enough to where you can grow produce on it. If we
Mm.
grab a
yacht
couple
needs
farmers
gas.
from Wasco, not if we're self-sufficient.
We
We
need
can
to
just float and say,
call
who cares?
Andrew.
But no, because sometimes the currents and the waves in the ocean they
No,
get so
it'll
big
take
that
us into rocks.
it would take us into rocks. We would need, so I
We
think a
need steering.
sailboat.
We need steering.
Yeah, so sailboat, but I don't know where, but I definitely think the ocean is a great call. But also
say the
with ocean,
mountains.
where's you're gonna get your fresh water? Maybe the mountains.
Maybe the mountains. The
By a
mountains are a
creek.
little scary though. Where are we going to get water? We can go to like a drilling rig.
In the ocean?
Uh-huh.
How? Would they have fresh water there?
I don't know if they have fresh water there, but
But it's a good hideout spot because
But
no
it
zombie
doesn't-
can climb
no
a ladder,
zombie-
baby.
no zombie is going to make it to a
I
drilling
feel like
rig,
we
you
would
know?
need to go like find a cow, get a banana tree.
Micah, you need
Okay.
2 cows. What's one cow gonna do? You need 2 cows so we can make multiple cows.
I was thinking milk.
Oh my gosh.
Some chickens. Definitely some chickens.
No, we wouldn't have enough space for livestock. We'd have to go
What?
full plant diet.
I say we just need to do a
No, I agree. It'd be hard to do livestock
Let's go
because
to the woods.
especially what if you get overrun by zombies? You've seen
Yeah.
Walking Dead, like it happens.
make a giant fence. Use the bodies for fertilizer of the zombies, of course.
Okay, Micah.
See,
So
I think-
Micah's dead already.
I think what we need to think of, so I think the ultimate goal is to end up on the ocean with a
Horses.
self-sufficient farm, right?
yeah.
I think we need an in-between base to where we can create like the necessary tools to go do that.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
I agree. So
Where do we go while we're waiting? We can go to Glenville.
Very
so,
true.
So
You need
I'm
more
thinking like
than
the Oregon
one
coast,
safe place.
the Oregon coast. I think there's some islands off there. Also, Oregon's like not very populated along the ocean. Like unlike California. I think we could set up shop somewhere along the coast.
We would have to ride horses, though. Remember that. Horses, no cars.
Horses need to eat. I guess they graze. Well, what are we gonna do? Load them up in the yacht? Oh my gosh. Anyways, so I think
Underground
I
also.
think we've done
we
it
could
for today.
we could underground it.
Underground it?
Yeah.
think
I
that
do.
takes a
I do
lot of
think
work.
that'd be a great
Underground
idea.
city.
If you could steal an excavator, dig like 20 feet down, ventilation system.
I just know what
train.
my first move would be.
Hmm.
Hart Park's not that far away. There's a house in like the middle of this water area. It's like a mansion in Hart Park, right? We got to go take it over and then figure out what to do from there.
Hey, there we go. We hold it down.
That's the first
And
step.
Hold it
then in the
down.
meantime, we find the most people and preach the gospel to them.
Yeah.
Because we're all goners.
Oh my gosh. All right, guys. Well, that'll do it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you, Seth, for coming on. We had a lot of fun. This was one of those laid back.
Might need to be
just-
a reoccurring theme. Is
Yeah.
ask Seth.
We might do a reoccurring theme, just where we just talk a bunch of nonsense and just so we could see what you guys think and all that. See if you guys would have the same plan as us during a zombie apocalypse. But anyways, with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. We love you all. Thank you, Seth, Micah, and we are out of here.
Now we need the jingle.